Yay.
Hey guys.
Hey. We are back. You got it on?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey guys, we're back.
We're back. Season 2. We're kicking it off with a very special person. One of my favorite
Very special
people.
guest. Introduce yourself to us.
Hello, everybody. I am Miss Incharge.
Yes.
Miss Incharge.
And her name
That's
says it
right.
all.
Yes.
Says
She's
it
a
all.
boss.
A boss.
Okay. So let's get to business.
Yes.
Tell us
Like a little
your
background,
story.
like about
Background.
what you do.
Yes.
Because I know you are a woman of many, many hats.
Yes. She's a boss and she means
Yes.
Okay, so in my day-to-day, right now I am completing my bachelor's in health science, health information technology, and informatics. I am a entertainment manager for
Okay.
Loose Cannon Takeoff, well, LKM the label. I am also a real estate agent.
She's
Yes.
an everybody person.
Everything.
I also have a nonprofit
Okay.
that I am currently working on some events catered to the nonprofit, more community events.
Oh.
And I'm a grandmother of 4 little girls.
Yeah, she's a grandma. Yeah. You want to look like that when you
Right.
come on.
That's what I want to.
These are goals for
Right.
me.
That's what I want to look like when I'm a grandma.
And what else do I do? I do a lot. I do mentorship.
We don't have to talk like this.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that you want to
that
do.
I
right?
do. I'm like, okay, give me.
So I do mentorship. I have people who contact me about businesses, kind of walk them through certain areas of the business world. What else?
She's
do a lot.
every blow.
Right.
It's,
All in me.
I
don't know.
swear.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, like, on a deeper note, your story. I feel like your story kind of has like a big before cancer. We're going to talk
Mhm.
about cancer today.
We're
So
celebrating
trigger
breast
warning.
cancer.
Yes.
That's right.
I always feel like there's a life before and after. So, like, tell us a little bit of life before. Like, how did that happen?
Okay, so life before cancer was pretty much the norm for the average woman with children. Stay-at-home mom, for the most part in the beginning. Well, pretty much throughout. Pretty much stay-at-home mom, raised my children. They were both actively in sports, so I was became a sports mom. I kind of worked in between for about 18 doctors at a pulmonary practice doing their billing. I attended school and completed my AS. I did complete a bachelor's in science and psychology, but I'm now doing a bachelor's in the healthcare informatics
Okay.
before I can complete the master's, so that's why. So I was a college student. So that's pretty much my life before cancer.
Okay. And so, like, what I'm trying to bring it up to the day or like the process of diagnosis, because I want people to know, like, it's not like you go to the doctor, you find out you have breast cancer. It's such a process.
It's a process.
Talk us through kind of that.
Okay, so in 2012, I found a lump in my breast on my birthday. So,
I just got chills because what we talked about.
so I just kind of felt it, just normal shower, they always tell you to check. So I found it on my birthday, and I called and I made an appointment with my doctor and said, hey, I found this lump. So I went to my doctor, my primary care, he sent me for an MRI. So, in the early years before now, you think it's hard to get an appointment now, then was really, really hard. It was much harder with insurance. So I had insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Blue Cross No Shield.
I was gonna say I'm sorry.
I call them Blue Cross No Shield.
Sorry,
because
but we're not
there is
sponsoring
no
them.
shield
Oh,
in Blue
gosh.
Cross.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So it was August, I finally got an MRI in Winter Park, Simon Med. So I did the MRI, and they said they send the images back to my doctor. So then they read it, but they sent it back to my primary care doctor. Nobody called me and told me anything. September.
Yeah, that's the process. By the way.
Yeah, so September, my doctor called, makes an appointment for me to come back in, and he said, hey, there was a spot on your MRI, so we're sending you to do another MRI with contrast. So now we're in the end of October. So November 2012, you remember these dates, I promise you, because this is a very painful walk. So you remember those dates. So November 2012, I go in for an MRI, Orlando Regional, Orange Avenue, for an MRI with contrast.
See, I'm.
So
Jeez.
now we reach January
Oh my
of 2013. So nobody told me anything. It just fell by the wayside. January 2013, I thought by then the knot is getting bigger. So you could see it through my skin now.
And it's painful.
No pain.
Oh, you didn't have pain?
No pain.
Okay.
It just became visible
Okay.
through my skin. So this is January now. So I thought, okay, I'm going to figure out another way. So I called my son's grandfather, who was a doctor. I called him and I said, hey, this is what's going on. So he said, go over to the clinic over at Winter Garden Tech. I think it was in Winter Garden.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of the name of it. But I went over there. I waited for like 4 hours. And then they said, okay, well, we can't see you today, so you have to come back on Tuesday. So I said, okay. So that Tuesday, I went back over there. And the lady saw me. She said, hey, the intake. She said, hey, you have insurance. We don't see patients with insurance. So I'm gonna have to say you have no insurance so that we can see you, because I told her what was happening. So she said, okay, I'm gonna say you have no insurance. We'll see you. So I remember the doctor, Dr. Steiner. She walked into the room and said, open your cape. So I opened it and she looked at me and she said, you have breast cancer.
Wow.
I was like, what? I started crying. I
Right.
broke down. What? You didn't even touch me.
Right.
So she
That's
walked out
crazy.
of the room.
You're making me sad
And
because it's
said,
crazy. That's
This is how it
what
happens.
you get.
So she said, I'm sending you to Dr.
Yeah.
Phillips for imaging. Can you make it there tomorrow? So I said, yeah. So she sent me over there. I was so hurt, and I'm like, I was so weak, because I'm like, what? This lady just, so I thought maybe, you know what? She didn't do any tests or anything. She just walked in and said I had cancer. Okay, so I brushed it off. So the next day, I go to Dr. Phillips. They do imaging. So I had a doctor come in, and I called my father-in-law at the time. I said, hey, I'm at Dr. Phillips. They're doing this imaging. And he asked, who's the doctor? I said, well, I haven't seen a doctor. They're just doing imaging. So he said, okay, let me know what happens after the imaging. So when they came in, they go, are you able to make it over to MD Anderson? So I was like, when? So they said, today. We're gonna make a call over there for you to go over and get a biopsy. So I said, sure. So I went the same day.
Because what are you supposed to say?
Like
Like,
no, I
you
can't
just
go.
told me I had breast cancer.
Yeah, you just,
You know, like,
so,
I'm rushing
so
there.
I'm asking questions. So what is going on? We said, well, we don't want to say, we need a biopsy before we can say anything. So I drive over to MD Anderson from Dr. Phillips, and I go in for the biopsy. So I go in, they do the biopsy, and they said, hey, we're gonna have you wait downstairs, and somebody's gonna come and see you. So when they came out after the biopsy, I waited for hours.
Oh
I couldn't go anywhere for hours.
At least they made you wait, like me. But we'll talk. But yeah.
Yeah, hours
'Cause
I
I
waited.
would wait. Like,
So when they came back, it's after 6 o'clock. So I'm like, I'm seeing everybody go home. I'm seeing people leave. And I'm like, what is going on? So I'm nervous. So I called my father-in-law. I said, still have me sitting here. It's after 6. I don't know what's going on. Nobody came and talked to me yet. So he said, where are you? I said, MD Anderson. So he said, okay. So I don't know what he did, but I saw like 5 people in white coats. They were all doctors. They start marching in and said, "Hey, we're gonna take you over to this room." So at that moment,
Oh my gosh.
I was numb. When I saw all of them, I immediately became numb. I was like, "What is going on?" So I met a nutritionist. I met a radiologist. I met an oncologist.
Wow.
I met a plastic surgeon, and I met the genetic doctor. So it was 5 people in the room, and they all introduced themselves. They were all talking to me, and I was so numb. I don't remember anything they were saying. Everybody was talking. The only thing I heard was they were putting in a port, and then they told me I had breast cancer, and I was like, "What?" This is on a Wednesday. Friday, I was going to surgery that put a port in my chest.
Wow.
Because they said next week you need to start chemo. Your cancer was so aggressive because where it was located, it goes upward before it goes down. So it will spread upward, and the type of cancer. So they told me it was stage 3, triple negative, and it was positive to hormones. So I can't take any hormones. Anything with hormones will affect.
Well, exacerbate it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. So then I went for Wednesday. So after that, I went for a PET scan, and the PET scan illuminated the cancer and knew exactly where it was. So a PET scan is given to, it's sugar that they give you because cancer feeds off sugar that I learned. The cancer that I had feeds off sugar. So then it was crazy. And at that moment, it was just like chemo was, I didn't have time to research. I didn't have time for a second opinion. I didn't have time for anything. I had stacks of papers of printouts of foods you can't eat, things you can't do, things you need at home, things you can't have at home. You can't have people that take injections or shots that are live viruses that they give you. So you can't be around children. Nobody.
Yeah, wow.
So you literally have to live in a bubble inside the house. You can't come outside. I had to wear gloves. I had to wear a mask. And I thought, if I needed all of this to come outside and I had to do all of this before, you literally have to prep yourself before leaving home. So it's just, it was a lot. So I didn't leave. I pretty much lived inside.
Why I asked you that question is because most people think, oh, you just get diagnosed mine. So I was diagnosed. Mine was stage 3 uterine cancer. Never said that out loud before, but like the process was like that. I was sick for almost a year. At the point where once I had my surgery, I mean, I was throwing up every day. I didn't know what was wrong either. I mean, mine wasn't as, like, I would have been scared. 5 people in a room, you're sending me everywhere. So it's different for everybody, but it is a process for everybody. Like, everybody I talk to is like, oh yeah, like, they didn't take it seriously. I went here, went there. And so I wanted people to know, like, it's such, and that whole time you're like mentally kind of like,
my brain froze.
Messed.
Yes.
You're just messed up.
Time to process it.
No, I didn't have time to process
and then you get that, and it's like, okay, you're having surgery, you're starting chemo. I thank God I didn't have to go through that, but it's just like the mental toll. Nobody thinks. Everybody's like, oh, but she looks okay, and the mental toll, and then you got to look okay because then people are judging that you don't look good. Oh, she don't look good, But it's that
I know.
That mind F of there's nothing, I can't even think of another word. That's what it is.
That's the way it is.
And then so you get your port. What's next? How long was chemo?
So I got my port that Friday, and then they gave me this numbing cream that I had to apply hour before chemo. But here's the catch to chemo. There's many levels to getting chemo. You don't just get chemo treatment.
There's pills.
Your blood count have to be at a certain number.
Even for radiation.
Even for radiation. So they check your blood before you can take treatment. So I had a remedy to make sure my levels were there every time. So I never missed a chemo. But I did take chemo for a very long time. I took chemo for 6 months every week.
That's
so
crazy.
For 6 months, it was an aggressive cancer. So I took it for 6 months, and every week I did it on Fridays because I knew the extent of the chemo and how much it was, that it was going to take so much from my body. I had no energy to do anything. So the weekend is just where I just pretty much stayed in bed. But for the most part, the chemo that I had eventually made me lose sensation in my fingers and my toes. So I developed severe neuropathy. So it killed my nerve endings. So there were times when I couldn't walk. So feet shuffling, and it just started with my feet shuffling, and then it got to the point where I couldn't walk. But I was determined because I didn't want to be bound to a wheelchair. So basically I did the best that I could around my house. And you just don't leave, because if you leave home, you have to be in a wheelchair. And you have to be pushed around, and then I just felt like if I go in a wheelchair, I'm losing hope, because now I'm depending on somebody else to get me around.
Right.
So my determination was not to have to be put in a wheelchair and pushed around. So I was determined.
So determination, because I want
Yes.
to talk about that.
Yeah.
There's every day, everybody has to be motivated to wake up, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can wake up alive, but like it's a mindset to wake up
Yes.
and do something.
That's right.
It's extra when you're going through. Like
When you're going through cancer.
what drove you? What was like that one thing that you were just like it propelled you every day? Like what was that?
Okay, so what really propelled me every day was my children were young. They were
I was about to ask how old.
preteens. One of my sons was preteen. So I'm naturally a fighter, not more physically, but I'm determined. So it doesn't matter what it is, I'm determined. So I would look at my children getting dressed in the morning, and it's like, I can't leave my children. I can't. My children was my motivation. So it's like, I can't leave here, because what's going to happen to my children?
Right, I felt it too. Like,
I can't, because
I
if
mean-
I leave them, what happens to my children? And that's the only thing I thought of. And I was just like, it's not my time yet, you know? So the fight was more mental than physical.
Yeah, I feel like nobody gets that, unless you go through it. But like, no matter what stage, like you can have. I mean, there's stage 0 cancer. Nobody knows that, but there is. It's such a mental toll on you that you have to. It's like fight or flight, and
It
if
is.
you don't think like that, you don't get
That's
through
right.
anything. I don't care what it is.
Yep.
Really, that's you say children, but because it's like. The thought of, well, what if they wake up tomorrow and I don't?
Yeah.
I know that's huge. That's huge for everybody, but like, it becomes so real that you're just like, okay, well, I gotta make sure I wake up tomorrow.
That's
and then the next day, every day is like, I gotta make sure I wake up. So that's crazy. Who was like support system? Like, I feel like I had her, like, you called
I
me
didn't
up,
even know what was going on.
And I didn't.
just
I
thought
was
you
very
were
hush
sick and had
hush.
surgery.
I was sick. I had surgery. That's all
it.
people knew.
That's it.
But
I secluded myself.
See, I did. I'm a secluder when I'm going through things anyway, but people don't know that they're your support. Sometimes they may not know, but they're so supportive. So who was like your main support system like at that time?
My grandmother. Both my grandmothers at that time. Both my grandmothers were my support. Like, one of my grandmothers were always on the natural journey of good health anyway. So she always believed in planting her own fruits and vegetables. So I knew I would get the good foods from this grandmother. But in combination, both my grandmothers were very supportive with my children. I actually moved in with my grandmother, and she actually took care of me during chemo. So I left my house to live in a completely different environment, because I knew it would be too much. I didn't tell my friends. Some of my family didn't know. I asked my grandmother not to share it with a lot of family, because I didn't want to get overwhelmed. I was still trying to process everything. So I just felt like if I had too many people checking in or calling, you know, I know everybody is empathetic and has sympathy, but I wasn't dying, so I didn't want sympathy. So it's like, I'm not dying.
The same mindset.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not
I'm not dying. You know, I'm just going through something right now. And it's
Yeah.
just something that I chose not to share with everybody. So it's one of those things I just kept within a certain perimeter of my family and my friends that I can manage. So anything beyond my control, I didn't allow it to get outside too far, because then I knew it would be out of control at that
Yeah,
point.
you're already feeling out of control in a way.
Yes.
So why add chaos to the madness? I always say, why add a little salt to that?
Because it was too hard to talk about. Not everybody understands it, and then people are gonna ask questions, and some of the questions I didn't have answers to. So it's like, okay, so the main question was, where did you get it from? Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't even made it that far yet.
It's
so
not
it's just
contagious.
like, I don't know.
I know,
Like,
but you'd be surprised the questions. People don't ask certain questions.
Right.
yeah,
Certain
it's like,
questions,
okay,
we're dumbfounded.
I'm just like,
Like,
okay, not
yeah.
that question. Okay, of all, not that one. Like, I don't know where I got it from. So basically, you don't know until you get to that point of the genetic
Mhm.
doctor and the genetic screenings, and then all of the tests, and then I became a research patient. So then I was extremely overwhelmed, because now you're just, you know,
A test dummy.
you're experimenting. And so I told my
Just like,
doctor, I was like, wait a minute, are they going to be experimenting the medications for chemo with me? Because at that point I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm out of
That's
here
a
then.
no
Yeah.
for
I don't
me
want,
always.
I
That's a
don't
no
want
for me
any,
always.
I don't want to be an experiment for anybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy how even though like this is 2012, you remember like to the T, right? Because it's literally before that and after that, and so
Yeah.
like your whole life. So now, like you went through chemo. You're here and alive, and thank God for that. But like the after
The after
is harder
is
than
harder.
the process of
It's
is harder.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. The fight never stops. Okay. And because, so I could say, I beat cancer, but I'm still fighting. And the reason I'm still fighting is because there's still tests every year that you have to do to make sure it doesn't return. Because the percentile that I was in, I was in a percentile of where it says my cancer can return, but it can return and go to another organ. So because
Same.
because
Same.
now you're just, you know, that's where you're at. And then there's the list of medications that you take, and then it's like, this medication causes this side effect, and then you take this medication because you have this side effect. So it's like a chain of medications that you take. There's a chain of screenings that you have to take, and then there's other things that you developed from chemo and radiation. So I've developed heart disease, and it gets more crazy as time goes on. So it
How is
doesn't.
our story so
So it doesn't get better, but there's certain things that can get better, and those are the things that you control. And you know, okay, I can't eat this, I can't do this, so those are things you just cut out. It's not easy for some people, but in my thinking of, it's my health, so I want to be here and I want to be able to do things, so I'm not going to do it if it's gonna, you know, if it affects my everyday, or if it's going to affect my health. So those are things you have to kind of like take the scissors and you have to cut it out.
This is how I deal with things. I kind of make it humor, because that for me, processing all of that, I had to make jokes. Like I had to, you know, and also so yes, you got to change your lifestyle in many ways. Still working on that.
You're not supposed to be drinking alcohol.
Really, like,
I said I'm still working on that.
You're not supposed to be drinking alcohol.
No.
You're not supposed to be smoking.
Oh no, I didn't. And the thing is, I didn't go through chemo, and I haven't, you know, think that. But you know, because that's a whole nother.
Thank God.
You know,
That is
I had, you know,
whole nother
there's
beast.
pills that I was taking that. And certain drugs do contain chemo ingredients, and yes, so I'm currently still on that. I shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
But we're working on
I'm over here
fixing things.
thinking,
You know,
want to drink
mind your business. Mind your business.
No more wine with you.
No.
So you're not supposed to be doing that.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Hi neighbors. No,
give her any
Right,
drinks.
I'm like,
Guys, it's doing A-okay.
it's water for us.
Drink, I
Why
mean,
not add a
there's
little splash of-
alcoholic coffee and water. That's all I drink.
Of lemon
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, that's what my
Splash of
grandmother called it.
lemon.
It's a splash.
A
No, it's
splash
a
of
drink.
milk. Right. So, besides the health aspects, how? Because your life changed, like
Life changes.
and some people it drags them down completely.
It will.
I've seen people that are a shell of who they used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and cancer runs on my mom's side of the family intensely. If every woman even that I've lost, and it's not just breast cancer, but has been to cancer.
Mhm.
In my mom's side, every single person that
Mhm.
has passed away. We have autoimmune and breast cancer. We have uterine cancer. All that. I even have a cousin that for 12 years battled. Oh my gosh, what was his form of cancer? Cancer of the blood, and the name will come to me. But so like cancer,
Mhm.
but a lot of them are not in a better place. I see you in a better place, or in a good place. I didn't know you before, but I can see you in a beautiful place,
Yeah.
in a beautiful space. And maybe okay, you were that stay-at-home mom, but now, I mean, to this mogul, you know.
I'm an outside mom.
Yeah, she don't stay home for nobody.
Right.
But so like, why? And I want you. I'm probably understand why, but I want people to understand why. Why that you chose that route of doing, and being outside, and because not everybody chooses that, and it's a choice.
It is a choice.
Okay, so
Okay.
go ahead.
So I decided to come out more. I don't talk about my cancer, so this is the first time ever talking about like in depth my cancer. Well, not my cancer, but the treatment of cancer and my
Correct.
entire battle and my walk. So I think about all the days that I couldn't, and the times, not only the days going through chemo, not being able to walk, and the hard days that I had. I was in 2 comas and had a stroke. So for those days that I couldn't do it, I do it now, because there was a time that
Just giving me all the goosebumps.
I couldn't.
That's exactly.
Even if I tried, I couldn't. So now I can. So that's why now every chance I get, I do
That's exactly.
it.
I said she was gonna make me cry. Well, because
I do it.
Like, I mean,
That's the only.
we're gonna cry.
Don't cry.
No, in the best way, because it's like you spoke literally my heart. Like it related. I was the person that was responsible and not. I'm fun, yes, but like, oh no, I can't do that because I felt guilty, or like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to handle the kids, or the husband at the time. I'm not gonna be able to do all the things for them and for others, and I didn't realize until I couldn't that I wasn't living.
That's right.
Like I was in survival mode before that.
Mhm.
So that you said that, I'm like, oh. Guys, you never see me cry this much.
And you never come out of survival mode.
No, it's
you
just
never
different.
come out of
It's
survival mode.
like it's weird how you live and
Mhm.
in survival mode
Mhm.
at the same time.
That's right.
Because before it was just like survival.
That's right.
And then now, and that's why I say it's so different, because it's nothing like I've ever known. And I've had health issues throughout the years. Like I have a heart condition. I've had heart surgery. I had a minor heart attack at 18. So like when you said, oh my gosh, so like, yeah, it does affect your heart in that sense too, because now it's more affected.
Mm-hmm.
But cancer was just different.
It's very different.
Because I've
It's very
had all
different.
those other things. I mean, blood clots and
Mhm.
all of those things back
Mhm.
then, and it still didn't hit me the same way. So you think differently because someone told you should be dead. Let's be
Literally.
honest, right?
Literally.
And or like if you don't have the surgery, the option is death. Or
Yeah.
like for me, I
Yeah.
got a full hysterectomy. Gosh, I've never
Yeah.
talked about it.
That's right.
And then I had to do treatment from then and after
That's
that.
right.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, but when someone tells you something definitive, you want to prove them wrong. Well,
That's right.
Most people that are like this mindset.
Some people
yeah.
give up.
Correct.
A lot of people give up. I've had some of my classmates from high school didn't make it, you know, and their stage of cancer wasn't so bad as mine, but they didn't make it. So everybody's treatment is different, everybody's mindset is different, everybody's environment is different, everybody's support system is different. Everybody's thinking is different. So it's if you give up mentally and write yourself off, then that's exactly what the doctors do. Because if you don't show any initiative that I'm gonna fight, they give up on you too.
Especially in those higher, like, you know, stage 2 up.
Yeah.
It's like they already kind of wrote you off. Like,
Yeah. Stage 3.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So it depends on your doctor. Like
Yeah.
I had amazing doctors
Me too.
for this stage,
That's
but
right.
it took years to find them.
That's right. They're not easy to find.
No,
Because
and that's important too, guys. A PSA: look and do your research on doctors, because not every doctor, even general practitioners, are
Yes.
not one and the same.
and all of my doctors I've had since 2013. I still have those same
Yeah.
doctors.
It's like you really don't have time though to look for doctors. It's just like you guys are just thrown in there. Like this is what you have and this is what we need to do.
Yes.
So it's like
From
Yes.
diagnosis on,
yeah.
but for me, I feel like I've had issues 2 years prior. I just didn't know what it was, and I just kept trying to do research, trying to get different doctors, and had terrible. I'll tell you, I had terrible. Dr. Christy McGee, I'll put her a name out there. She's my general practitioner now, but I'm gonna put her name out there because she did. If it wasn't for her, like, okay, well, those symptoms are not normal. You know, like I was just like living. I did have pain. It was different. Like I did have masses. I did, you know. So mine was not only painful, but like I was to the point where I was so sick in my body's like telling me you're sick.
Right.
But it was a process too, like you said, like it's
It's
and
a
not
process.
everybody is trying to help you.
No.
Well, what's your insurance?
And they look at your insurance, they're like,
What kind
okay,
of
well, this
insurance do you
doctor
have?
doesn't accept this insurance. This doctor isn't seeing new patients right
Wow.
now. And I thought, you know what? I'm over this. I can't.
And
do
it makes you want to give up.
Yeah, it does,
You're
because
like,
it's
eh,
like
well, it's not that
a
serious if they're
whole
not
war.
taking it
Like,
serious.
yeah. Oh yeah, we're not seeing new patients right now at the time. Well, he's not taking that insurance from new patients right now. And I was,
Yeah.
And that's
It's a
crazy.
war.
It's like if you think you call a doctor's office and say, I was diagnosed with this, they'll be like,
No.
no.
okay, come on.
There's that you have to
No.
understand. There's no cares about your diagnosis. The care is in the.
Yeah.
That's all the care is in.
I mean, they almost canceled my surgery.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
You-
God.
yeah.
They
They
postponed.
need your
yeah,
deductible.
not only the deductible, but they're like, and then there's a co-insurance,
co-insurance.
and that all needs to be paid before we
For-
save your life.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
they
a
don't
lie.
say that, but
Yeah,
in a
but that's
nutshell,
what I
that's
heard.
what they say.
That's
like,
what I
yeah,
heard.
we need your deductible,
Yeah.
your co-insurance, your blood, and all your organs.
And maybe your firstborn,
Yeah,
depending on
because
how
at
shitty
this
yours
point,
are.
yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I
Oh
say it like
my
it's so
God.
true. No,
It's very
crazy.
sad.
Yeah.
And then coming from the billing world, knowing insurance.
I know
See,
insurance too.
the
And I'm
thing
like,
is,
you're
it's
lying to me.
I'm like, yeah, you can't balance bill me, and that's my HMO. Yeah, and then I got rid of. Then I was just like, at that point,
Mhm.
I still haven't saw a bill yet,
Wow.
because now they know that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go to war with the billers.
Like, you mean to tell me, and then you start telling,
Yeah.
you know codes and you
Yeah,
know this,
and I
and
know
they're
the
like,
codes,
oh,
yeah.
let me get my manager.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she knows
And
she's
you hear
not
them in the
gonna-
background. That bitch is crazy. She knows.
Exactly. Let me tell you, one girl came out one day and she said to me, she said, I'm the billing manager, and so she wanted to know how, well, I said, no, my secondary. Well, your secondary only paid this, and this is what's left over. Then you write it off. And she goes, no. So I pulled out my CPC card. I said, I'm a certified coder. Let me
If you
just
have
let
two
you know.
insurances,
You have
should
two
not be
insurance.
paying
You should not be
anything.
paying anything.
Right.
It
Because that's the
stops.
point.
That's the
And
whole
then
point.
they write off the difference.
They're supposed to write off
Correct.
the difference.
Correct.
And so then I thought, you know what? And so she says, Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna. Oh, yeah. Please do
Right.
that. Take it back in there. Don't bring it back
You
out
need
here
help?
again. Yeah. Let me, if you need help, call me because
I
I'll
got
walk you
you.
through it.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to be on your payroll. honey.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like while I'm in here sick,
Yeah.
let me handle that. No, it's that, and nobody talks. And because there's so much shame in talking even about having the bills,
Yeah.
you know, because it's such a costly thing if you don't have the two insurance, if you don't have the right insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so now people are depressed because not only are they sick and going through chemo or not, or radiation or surgery or whatever, but now I have these bills and nobody trying to help me. Because that's
right.
a whole conversation. We could have a whole hour on that.
Yeah, we
Because
could.
nobody talks about these things, and
No.
people don't talk to each other. Like,
And certain insurances
Yours
don't
has been
cover certain chemos.
11, 10 years. Mine has been in the last year, diagnosis wise, but like we both have never fully had these conversations. It's crazy how there's almost, it's not a shame. It's just like because people ask the wrong questions, and
They
because
ask the wrong
people are
questions.
not empathetic. They're nosy. There's a difference.
There is a huge
And
difference.
you almost feel like you have to live still in the bubble
Mhm.
or be living your best life. There's no in between, because then people are going to ask, well, does she have cancer again because she didn't post for 2 weeks, or
Right.
whatever the case. So
Right.
it's just like, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because we've talked about cancer a few weeks ago with somebody else in a whole different light. But the conversations do have to start being had. Like she asked,
They do.
Nicole's like, how much are you willing to say? And I said, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Because we're going to keep feeding the cycle of just living in shame or living quietly, or
And not educating those.
educating people, or people that need to hear this that are going through it right now.
Yeah.
Because that's important to me. Like,
That's the
why we
importance.
started the podcast really is because, well, this past year I had cancer, and it's like, it's so important to tell the real stories about real people that are going through it,
Right.
and the come up, and because not always is it just a sad story, because now you can proudly say, like, I'm fighting cancer, and I'm you know, it's a lifelong fight. Once you
It's a
have had
lifelong
it,
fight.
it's always can come back.
It can.
And nobody everybody thinks you ring the damn bell at the
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
you're free.
Yeah, you're
and
free.
it is
No.
a different life. I don't
It's a
ever want to
life
call
after.
it correct.
It's
And
a life
that's
after.
why I always say
chemo.
before and after.
It is.
Whether you had chemo, whether like it was a minor thing and they took it out, and you still go through that same fear, because you don't know. You say cancer and it's like you don't know. I don't care what stage it is. I don't care what it is. You can have any kind of cancer, and it is a before and after, and not a lot of people live this. Not a lot
No.
of people are living. They're still in survival,
Mhm.
and you are in survival, but you have to also live in concurrency with it, because
That's right.
if not, it drowns you.
It will drown you and take you out.
And on a positive note, I want to say, it will drown you, but positively. Well, no, because it is. We want to start celebrating more.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to start a nonprofit, so I'm gonna give some info, because that's my next goal. Like now it becomes about, I made it here to this point. What's next? And you can have a what's next.
Right.
And for so long, you don't even know. So it's so big. I'm so glad. I'm proud to meet you about and talk like this. But what is we always talk about quotes or something, an advice somebody told you, or like something that just stuck with you. It didn't even have to be from cancer on, just in your life that maybe helped you beat it, or maybe helped you keep going. What's like some advice or a quote or something you heard? It could have been a podcast. It could have been somebody else's. Just don't plug it. But something that like kept you going in some way.
What really kept me going? My oncologist, Nikita Shaw. She said, "Stay away from the internet.
Stay away from the internet. Just not today.
Stay away from the internet. There's conflicting and mixed stories, and your cancer is not everybody else's cancer. So do not compare your cancer with anybody cancer that you
I
have.
have to learn that lesson.
So, because I took chemo with women that did not make it through, and it was a specific group of us that would take our chemo at the same time every morning, and you'd hear the nurses saying, "Oh, she expired."
Oh,
Oh,
not expired.
Yeah,
It's expired.
yeah,
by the way.
expired. Oh,
Yeah.
her numbers are low. She can't take treatment. And then it's just like you hear those things, and I'm like, "Whew,
Yeah.
I'm here." You know, when they come back with that report, okay, her numbers are good, and then they order your chemo. So that was the biggest key, to stay away from the internet. And I remembered that your cancer is not everybody else's cancer.
I'm
No,
gonna take that
I
too,
feel
'cause
like you're
Google
talking to
every,
me.
Every time something happens, I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, you Google it,
Yeah.
and then
I mean-
and then it lives in your
Yeah,
head,
'cause I'm
because now
stressed out
you
now.
you're stressed
Yeah.
out because now you just read it on the internet, and most people they visualize things. So
Yeah.
now you eternalize that. Now you read it, so now it's internalized in your mind, and now
you're
you think
claiming it. I
because
have this.
you read it and, oh well, I had this same pimple right here, and it said I had herpes. Then you go, hey, wait a minute, how did I? Yeah, you can't. You can't. You have to stay away from it.
For me, I did not Google a damn thing, and I'll tell you why.
Me
Just
either.
because I wasn't willing to. Like, I know myself.
Yeah.
I would have been down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I would have been like,
I didn't.
but I don't. It's the comparison for me is I don't feel like I battled something in like, I went to the Cancer Institute and for even scans and doing all that, and you see the people in the chemo chairs, and you see, for me, why I didn't share, I felt like, well, I don't have nothing to share. Like, it wasn't enough of a fight, and that's terrible. Like, I know I have to stop that. I still think like that. I'm not gonna lie. I'll put it out there. But like you saying that is so true, because a lot of people, or like they're like compared to the person. Oh, am I next? Or is this gonna be me next time? Or it's not enough? Oh, my battle's nothing. I did that for so long. Like, had a little battle. But it was not little to me, you know?
It's not.
But it's so
big.
weird that you say, like, oh, don't compare, because it is so different.
You can't
Everybody's
compare.
battle, everybody's treatment, everybody's aftermath is
It's
everything's so
completely
different.
Yep.
So, thank you. I mean, I needed to hear that. That's the gem I'm going to take with me, right?
It's not the same.
And what would you tell somebody that's dealing with it now, that, like, is maybe waiting for the call, or going to chemo tomorrow, or just got to ring the bell that they're cancer free? And I say that in quotes because you're never cancer free. But what would you wish that somebody told you that you learned on your own throughout the process?
I think I kind of took in what was suggested by my oncologist and by my grandmothers. So I kind of don't look back and say, I wish I would have done, because I think I did all the right things to get me through what I needed to go through. But if I could look back now that we have all this research,
And even though in 10, 15 years, cancer has come a long way.
Right.
Even
so
in that
it's
short
like
span.
now I look back now. I look back and say, I wonder if I really had cancer. Maybe it was just a tumor. Maybe it was just a knot. Maybe it wasn't cancerous. Maybe it wasn't going to spread now. Maybe if I would have had time, because now I see these pharmaceutical companies make a lot of money off of medication. They make a lot of money off of diagnosis and treatment. And it's like the pandemic now. So now I look at it, didn't hit me until the pandemic. Okay, all these people have COVID, and they said they had COVID. But how did all of these people started getting COVID and just dying? So now I look back and say, I wish I would have thought about, no, let me get a second opinion to make sure this is right. But because I was so bombarded, like day after day like I was constantly going and doing and having to be here so fast that it just drastically changed so fast. So it's just like, okay,
It's like you,
I didn't have time to think.
No.
I didn't know how to
couldn't
think, to
process
be
it at
honest
all.
with you.
and I wish
It was no way
like
to
people
process
knew
it.
that part of like you were immediately put in a room with 5 doctors.
Yeah.
You know how overwhelming that is? I
Very
was like, there
overwhelming.
was like 2 for me.
I'm telling
And
you,
that
they
was
were
still
all
overwhelming.
talking,
And
and
they
I
put
was
you in a
crying,
room.
and I'm like, you know, I turned my phone off. I powered it off because I thought if somebody called me, I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. I don't even remember how I got home. When I got home, I was a zombie. Everybody was looking at me. It was like, what's wrong? I couldn't even talk. I
So-
went straight in my bathroom and got in the shower, and I stayed there for a few hours. I just stayed there. I was like, I
Do
can't
my
come
best
out.
crying
I don't
in
even
the
want. I don't
shower.
even want to talk to my kids.
Right.
And they're beating on the door. Hey, mommy, are you okay? You know, it's like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I would say.
But I really wasn't.
no, of course
But,
not.
you know,
but
I-
you have to be okay.
My kids didn't
There's
understand
no. I'm.
Right.
How do you
There's
tell your
not.
kids?
I always tell, and my oldest, when he asked me, you know, once I kind of like, hey, I'm gonna have surgery. You're gonna see.
Yeah.
I had, you know, I explained to him, I have a teenager and a preteen. My son at the time was 10,
Mhm.
my youngest, and it was like, how do you say that? So it was like, oh, mommy's gonna be fine, but I have to have surgery, you know. And
Yeah.
so my oldest is not, you know, he's not a kid, and he's just like, so are you dying? And it's just like, no. That question was so heavy for me. I was like, but I didn't even have process to a moment to think of. My answer was just, of course not. You know,
Right.
like, of course not.
Yeah.
But it's a good point. Get that second opinion.
Yeah.
Always go to the, like I did go, I mean, for good or for bad, I did
Yeah.
take the moment to go to another doctor.
Mhm.
So my process was a little different, but a lot of people are rushed. Your surgery's here.
Yeah.
Like this is this, and
Mhm.
sometimes you do need to be sure, and so that's important too. That's a good point of
Yeah.
like, okay, I got cancer, and one doctor. Some people for their teeth, they're getting a second opinion. So why
Mhm.
not? I mean, you were a little different. It was like we have to do
Right, it
this
was
now.
like one
You
day
know,
here, you wake up next
Yeah.
day, and now you gotta
and that was similar to our last guest. Hi, Lily. But it was like,
oh, his leg.
yeah,
You had to
I
decide
mean,
if he
it was
gonna
an
get it.
amputee. Like, oh, you have to decide by tomorrow that you're
Right.
gonna amputate your leg or
That's
not. And
It's
he's
such a
like,
big decision.
you know,
Mhm.
and these doctors sometimes they're so focused on the diagnosis, the money, the medication. Now I'm getting more money.
That's right.
That it's not even about like
Your
you're
life.
losing your breasts, your
No.
leg, your ovaries, or whatever you're losing. People
Yeah.
don't realize like that's all.
Mhm.
You have to grieve that in a different way
Yep.
and fast, and
Very
nobody
fast.
even
And-
gets it. Yeah, they're
Yep.
just like, oh, you got to take out everything. You're never gonna be able to do this.
Yeah.
And
And
tomorrow.
I was okay with it.
yeah, I mean, same at this point.
Like I have my kids now,
Yeah.
so you know,
Right.
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
get it out, get it going. You know.
Exactly.
So that was the same way with my breasts. They were like, well, we can do we can do a lumpectomy, but if we do that, then your cancer is very
Chances.
aggressive. It can go over to the next breast. And I thought, no, you're gonna take these off. Like you're gonna take these. God gave them to me, and now I'm giving them away. Like
Yeah.
they have to
I mean,
go.
because like at the end of the day, certain things are like mine. Like, I mean, it's not minor. Some people think their breast is everything. Like, oh my gosh, I can.
Mhm.
Can't
You
live
know,
on my breast.
But when you think
Yeah.
life or
Right.
breast,
Yeah,
or, you know,
it's
it
not,
is. You
it's,
know,
it's
yeah.
not. You know,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you can have these.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
But like in my situation, thank God I had children, but it was hard for me to have children. So it was a process to even have them. But I thank God every single day because now I can. And most people are like starting families now, and I'm like, okay, well, I started young and that was okay because look, God
And I'm
had a
glad I
different
did.
plan. Yeah,
Because if I would have
exactly.
waited.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Everything happens for a purpose. In my
It
in my
does.
opinion, that's how it is, right? So,
Mhm.
oh, like me meeting you. Thank you guys, I love this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This was so good. I've learned so much. Like, I'm one of those thinking that once you go to the doctor, they tell you right then, okay, you have cancer. So, like,
No.
girl, I
the
wish.
whole before,
It's,
I'm
no,
like,
there's stages.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then go
And
like
then
the
even
mental
after.
toll during that because
Yeah.
you know something's wrong, but you just
Yeah.
don't know what.
And it's like they
Mhm.
woo you up to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just gonna wait.
Right.
Yeah, we know, but we're gonna wait.
And now every year you have to go back to see if it came back.
I mean, it started
Every
like I had,
year.
That's
Well,
such a mental toll.
for,
It does.
like for me,
It's
for
a trigger.
the
Yeah.
first
Trigger.
year, I had to go every 3 months, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
well, so like I just
Yeah.
made a year from my surgery.
Yeah.
I wrote my diagnosis was in actually my birthday weekend last year.
Mhm.
So yeah, a year and a half. But then from that time to even doing anything about it was
Yeah.
6 months. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
And then it was a process a year
Mhm.
before that to even find out.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go to 3 months, every
Yeah.
3 months, every 6 months.
every 6 months, then
Yeah.
a year.
Then you
yeah.
go to the
So
year.
so I'll be starting. I have my next week. I have one, and then I'll go into 6 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
yeah, and then this is my 10-year survivorship.
Oh yes.
So
That's so
technically, they say
amazing.
you don't survive until you make it to 10 years. So
Yeah.
10-year survivorship, and I feel like it's just like every year it feels like, did I feel like I started over again? Because
Yeah, because it's
I'm not
so-
going through treatment, but I'm
Yeah.
going through all of these tests, and
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
you have anxiety because now once you go through radiation so much, that dye burns your body. It's like,
Oh, and you don't get those things back. Like,
No,
I
you
mean,
don't.
I want people to know
It's
real
hot.
quick because radiation, I did it at 18 for different type of cancer, but
Mhm.
that was, again, I say minor, but it still wasn't minor. But the radiation, I mean, some people lose teeth, some
Mhm.
bone mass.
Mhm.
Like, there's so much that goes
Mhm.
into, I mean, let's not even get started with chemo. But
Yeah.
they say radiation, oh, it's less, you know,
no,
it's
radiation
minor, but
is
it's
worse
it's
than
so
chemo
because
now they're looking at my bone marrow.
yeah, your bone marrow.
My
People
bone
have
marrow.
needed bone marrow
I've
transplants.
lost my teeth
all
in
of
the
that.
back.
Yeah, no.
It screwed
Yeah.
up my dental.
And so like
Radiation does a
I
lot.
didn't lose teeth, but mine weakened to a point where like I just am starting to get some kind of health, you know. But
Mhm.
there's so much that goes onto it. Like it's not just oh you beat cancer, but now you got all these
Yeah.
other things, you know.
Yeah, they don't understand. It's
Yeah.
a lot.
So I'm so glad we had this because, like, not only are you a woman that became this, now you're doing so many beautiful things, right? Like I feel like okay, so you're here and you're alive, but you're doing something with that life, you
Yes.
know. And I feel like a lot of people don't, and they fall. And I want people to know like it's so possible to keep going and
It is.
easy. Heck no, none
No.
of this is
It's not
lie.
easy.
Nothing's easy. And
It's
it-
still not easy.
like I mentioned in speaking with Louis, like now it's you gotta wake up and every day it's like it's still like you have it because now you're choosing
Mhm.
like to keep going and fighting and fighting and fighting,
Mhm.
and it's just a different fight.
It's a different fight.
Yeah.
There's levels to it.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Miss Incharge.
Yes.
I want people to know where to find you,
Okay.
know what you do, in terms of like if they want to reach out to you for the nonprofit or go tell us about
Okay.
tell us about where they can find you, reach out, whatever.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram. It's ms.incharge, and you can send me a DM. That's the best way to reach me. DM. Yes, I control all my conversations in DM before I get the
Okay.
phone number because
Yeah.
then it's
Absolutely,
like,
yes.
I don't let people waste my time. My
Right.
time is very valuable to me. I'm a very busy person.
Don't
I
be
have a lot
DMing
going
no
on.
nonsense.
Yes, no nonsense. Keep it strictly business,
Yes.
please, and thank you. That's the best way to reach me.
Okay, yeah, and where do they find you?
Nikki Fitness _14.
Oh, that one phone.
Is that 1-4?
It's one
phone.
Mine is not as fun.
That's
I'm at Aspire J, but it's JEY,
No,
not
that's
J. Okay,
Oh,
is
okay.
that fun?
It's JEY, not
And then,
JAY.
if you haven't followed us on our Instagram, our page at Aspired Podcast,
Yes.
right?
Mhm. Yes.
Go follow us. Go subscribe.
Mhm.
Go reach out to her if you need
Yes.
anything. Wanna,
Mhm.
I mean, praise her, give her her flowers
Yes.
because she deserves them.
Yes. Mhm.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Remember, we're live now.
Live Wednesdays, Wacky Wednesdays.
Wacky Wednesday.
We could have a wind down Wednesday.
You
Wind
can't drink
down
wine
Wednesday.
anymore.
Why she talking?
We can have sparkles.
Okay,
Yeah,
look at the
sparkles. Sparkles. When